Kevin Moore, host of The Moore Show, and it's my passion to help you live your best life now. You might be looking to find answers on love, connecting with your life's purpose, reuniting with a loved one on the other side, discovering your past lives, or just helping you make sense, finding your direction now. So The Moore Show has collaborated with the most gifted readers around the world to form The Moore Show Psychics. Now, my readers have a large range of skills to choose from to be of service to you, and all my psychics are interviewed to show transparency, with each interview available on the website. So call now, dialing the numbers on the screen to speak to my operators 24/7, or go to tmspsychics.com to choose a reader or book online. The Moore Show Psychics, helping you transform your present moment into the most loving and happiest it can be. Now, I also offer a full money back guarantee, so what have you got to lose? Empower your life now.
The comments and views expressed on The Moore Show are those of the people that make them and do not necessarily reflect the view of Kevin Moore, The Moore Show, or this radio station and its affiliate or sponsors. This show is for entertainment purposes only.
Broadcasting from the UK and across the world online. You're now watching The Moore Show, and I'm your host, Kevin Moore. Now, for the next hour, I'll be covering subjects that will open up your mind and provide you with information you may have never heard before. Now, on today's show, I'm about to be joined with my guest, Krystal Raylynn. Now, Krystal is going to come on today's show to basically talk about her journey of coming into her space of being a medium and someone that's able to tune into the chakras. She's got her own unique gifts, where she's been doing this for a couple of years now, listening to that intuitive voice, listening to her guides, and she's not really told her friends and family much of her gift. And this is really to demonstrate to other people that, you know, it's important to be your true authentic self. And by standing in that power, you become the best version of yourself. And that's exactly what Krystal's doing. So we've got loads to talk about. And without further ado, Krystal, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super, super excited and such a big fan of the channel. So I'm so excited.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Well, you know, this is, you know, normally, right, I get people on because they've got a book to, you know, to express, or they've got something that is in alignment. And I think this really is in alignment, this interview, because this kind of came out of the blue for me in a way when you contacted me. And yeah. I mean, because right now you're in a process of, let's just get straight to it. Basically, you know, you've a Christian family. You're a Christian yourself, which is that's a beautiful thing. And
well, I wouldn't label myself as Christian actually, but yeah, most of my family, they are, and I live in the South, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. My family, they actually live like 30 minutes east of me, so it's even a smaller town in Louisiana. But yeah, I grew up Christian. I did go to a Christian school, all that kind of stuff. I still identify, like, I still hear Jesus talk to me a lot, which is awesome. I really love it.
Yeah.
I feel very led to never call myself a Christian for some reason, and maybe we can talk about that too. But yeah, so I do have a very Christian family for the most part, though, and Christian environment too.
Absolutely. And, you know, when I read your email about the idea of sort of, you know, discussing that, you know, what it's like for someone with a Christian background to sort of come into this field, you know, where, you know, you're communicating with spirit in a sense, or, you know, you've had an awakening, in you could call it maybe. I just found that that was the pull to get you on, really, because I thought, yeah, that could actually help a lot of people who are going through something similar in a sense. So there's been nothing researched for this interview except maybe just a little bit of background I've got about yourself, but this is all kind of in the moment, which is a great place to be. So where do we start? Yeah, where do we start? Well, I guess maybe just tell us, what was growing up like in a sense?
I had a feeling, I knew we would talk about, because I guess that is how I kind of reached out to you, but I had so many other things that I thought would be cool to talk about. But this morning I actually thought about this. It was interesting. I grew up super Christian. Like I said, when I was about 11 years old, I started going to a Christian school here in Baton Rouge, and I grew up and I had a very close relationship with Jesus. I had very particular moments I had building up to this interview where I literally asked Jesus to be like my father, because I grew up without fathers. Like my mom, my dad left when I was 2, and then my mom got remarried, and things fell out there. That's kind of why we moved and went to a Christian school. So with my stepdad, things happened. So I was like, well, God, why don't you be my dad? Let's do that. And I remember that moment so beautifully, and it was amazing. But I also had lots of experiences where I woke up in the middle of the night. I had things I had spirit talking to me from a very young age. I just didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
And it was very scary because through the church, you kind of, they tell you, I had a feeling that I was being oppressed, not that I was being helped. I felt like demons were talking to me because I could hear things audibly. I had things wake me up in the middle of the night. So it was actually pretty terrifying because I didn't know what I was going through. And that's something that I hope can change for kids in the future, because those same things that I feel now, I have such a different feeling towards them. And now I know they were trying to help me, but back then I was terrified. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I can imagine you was. Well, okay then. So sort of fast forward lows here, right? What was that aha moment when you realized, okay, that there's nothing negative what was trying to speak to you or come through. There's just something actually very positive here. What changed for you?
I think it was actually the death of my grandfather. He passed away like 5 or 6 years ago, I think. And I just missed him so much that, oddly enough, I started watching the Long Island Medium.
Oh, yes, yep.
And just what she was doing seemed so amazing, even though all my life I was pretty much taught not to dabble into that. I was taught not to look at that was all demonic. But I just missed my grandfather so much, and I just had this feeling that he didn't want me to be sad and all these things. And I started feeling like I could hear him talk to me because I just missed him, and I would pray about it. And he was really, I felt, my gateway to acknowledging, okay, this is real. I can definitely hear him. I asked for signs for him, and my symbol for him is like heads up pennies. He leaves them for me everywhere. So I don't hear from him as much as I did back then, but he was definitely someone that after he passed away, he was helping me through that grieving process. And I feel like he was trying to tell me things to help my family through the grieving process too, because they had a few people in our family taking it really hard. So I started looking into that. And from there, I had a dream. I was in college. I read this book that was about a Native American. It was a Black Hawk, a biography that he written, or someone had written about him. And the way that they described their spirituality and like what they saw God as, it was too common to what the feeling I felt all my life. But yet we're taught that Jesus is the only one that can give us this, but they knew nothing about Jesus. So I was so confused. But at the same time, and I felt like I'd found something out that I wasn't supposed to know, having that relatedness between this Native American person that had never heard about Jesus and me that had grown up with the knowledge of Jesus all my life. And they were so similar. My mind was just open. I was also scared at that moment too.
I can imagine.
It's been a scary process the whole time. It's starting to become better, so much better. But then I started having some dreams, and when things started visiting me again that I used to experience when I was about 13, and it started becoming more normal. I started not pushing it away. I started kind of looking more into it. So yeah.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Okay. So, was there any sort of books that you were reading that were helping you on the way?
So I never finished reading that Black Hawk book, but I kept that book. I've never, like I said, never finished reading it, but I have it still because it's a reminder of where this all kind of started. And then shortly after that, I had a dream probably 2 months later where I interpreted it because it was, I think I astral projected. It was the first time astral projecting that I knew of consciously. And it was a scary dream where this lady was cleaning my house. And when I asked her what she was doing in my house, I wasn't in my body when I asked her, but I was like telepathically asking her because I had no mouth. It was like my spirit was out and I was trying to communicate with her. And she just looked at me and smiled. And she was so peaceful and I was so scared. And I just kept asking her, "Who are you? Who are you?" And immediately after having that dream, I looked it up online, and basically it tried to tell me that I was asking myself who I was. And from there on, I just had no idea. And I've been on this journey of finding out who I was ever since. So that was a big dream. And I think I started this journey really getting in touch with my dreams and looking up things. Every time I had one, I would look it up and see what my dreams are trying to tell me. So
yeah, no, absolutely. But it feels like to me as well that you haven't been highly influenced by much other sort of other people's truths, other people's material out there in a sense. You're kind of trying to discover this yourself.
Kind of, but at the same time, I watch, like I said, I love your YouTube channel because there are tons of people that you bring on that talk about ETs, which that's really why I emailed you, because I was watching, they had a picture of an ET and I love clicking on those, and it was with Waitiki.
Oh, Whitaker. Yeah, Whitaker. Yeah, from Amsterdam. Yeah.
Yeah, that was actually 15 minutes into her video. I felt like I have to send this email. And then I watched the rest of the video, and it was also closely to what I feel and stuff. So I was like, wow, I didn't even know that. But yeah, so I do watch videos online. I watch your channel. I watch Ralph Smart for a while. Like, I used to watch Ralph Smart. Like, I kind of revisit things just where you're at, you know?
Yes.
Teal Swan, Abraham Hicks. I've been doing some really cool exercises with Abraham Hicks stuff, which I used to not. I had a phase where I liked Abraham Hicks, and then I stopped, and then now I listen to it at night, actually, while I sleep. I listen to Abraham Hicks videos, like, on a playlist, and because I wanted that message to get in, like, subconscious, because I was very resistant to this idea of the law of attraction, because I used to I'll just say it, beat the shit out of myself, because every time something came to me that I didn't like, I was like, but I'm attracting this according to this. But by listening to it overnight, something told me try it for 2 weeks and see what happens. I'm very aware of the law of attraction. It doesn't scare me. I don't feel like I don't beat myself up over it anymore. I have such a new understanding about the law of attraction. And I think it's because I do listen to it at night. Because when you listen to it consciously, you just have that feeling like, man, I'm bringing this terrible stuff all on myself. And now I have such a different view of it since listening to it at night. So it would be a cool thing if other people wanted to do that too. It's kind of helped me understand that concept a little bit better.
So that's very, very interesting. So okay, I've got loads of questions, right? But obviously then you've gone through a major shift. You've gone through a major change, yeah? Major,
yeah. So I don't know if we mentioned this. Okay, I told you about this. I went to Yellowstone last summer, and I went there with someone that I know is like one of my soulmates. We don't talk anymore, but he and I had a off and on well, not an off and on friendship. We were always friends. We just had very confusing feelings about whether we were friends, whether we were more. It was all this kind of jumbled up thing. So we thought, okay, let's go move in together. Let's go live in Yellowstone and let's go check this out. And I ended up kicking him out of my room within like a week and a half, which is, it's a whole thing. We had such a journey that I've been trying to write a book about it, but it hasn't come into fruition yet because it was actually a very messy situation. But so much healing came through that individual, and I still love him very much. It's just the understanding I have of it now is that I was praying to get to know myself, and I was praying to be revealed blocks and just different belief systems that I had that weren't serving me. And a lot of those belief systems showed up through him. Like he was just this mirror for them. And it was painful because your ego, or my ego, didn't want to, I was trying to control him a lot. I wanted, there were just so many expectations he couldn't meet, and just, or expectations I had of him that weren't him. And there were a lot of things that he showed me, and I'm very appreciative of it, but it was also very painful. And I went through the deepest emotions I've ever went through in my whole life being in that place. Because first of all, he was the only person there that I knew. And so whenever I couldn't go to him for things, I made a whole new group of friends, but I still felt alone because all my family was in Louisiana. And I was under such intense pain and growth. Usually when you're at home, you have a safe spot. Yeah. And I had nowhere to go there. Nowhere to go. That was the place that I had to get everything together. That I put myself in the situation where if you saw a wall, there was no way to go around the wall. You had to figure out a way through the wall. And I put myself in that situation. And luckily when I came home, I started doing, I had actually been depressed for about 12 years. And when I came home, suicidal thoughts were very normal for me in those 12 years. And when I came home, something happened where I was thinking about, having that suicidal thought again. Yeah. And something just told me, no, you're not. No, you're not. So figure this out. I'd heard that yoga helped. And I'd taken multivitamins before, and they had greatly helped my depression as well, and eating right. So I was like, well, let me just try yoga. Let me try the food, and let me get back on my vitamins and see what happens. And within 2-3 weeks, I haven't experienced depression in 5 months or 5 or 6 months since I've been home, because I finally was like, I'm not going to do that. So I went the more natural route, but I told myself if that didn't help, I was going to go to a psychiatrist, which I had been to one before. And I went for 2 sessions. She wanted to diagnose me bipolar, and so I never went back to her. And then, but I had decided if this depression continues and the yoga doesn't help or anything, I was going to go back to I was going to get on antidepressants. Yeah. So I wasn't above that. I'm not above that. It's just, yeah.
I mean, sometimes, right, it is true. Sometimes, we need that medication. We do. I mean, but if you can, the greatest healer is yourself. It really is. And the depression, I'm sure it was just there to teach you something. It was just there to try to awaken something within you, because we've all been there. When you talk about suicidal thoughts, that's, I had my near-death experience because I nearly took my own life years and years and years and years ago. Yeah. Some people have said to me before, if you've never thought of suicide, you've never lived, right? But no, nothing you're telling me.
There's some people swear up and down they've never thought of it, which, I do question it. I question that, but maybe some people are afraid, but maybe they really don't. I don't know.
No, but I don't think it's a bad thing. It's not. I think, coming down here, having a human experience is really, really difficult. It's not easy.
Yeah. Actually, and so whenever, because I had mentioned before, I don't know if I want to, because this is a whole other thing, with ETs, I was being talked to by what I felt were Syrian people about a year ago, if not a little bit more than that. And I did. I think it didn't help with my suicidal thoughts a lot because I have this, I know like that if that happened, then maybe I could go home and be with them. But at the same time, I was like,
You
I
chose
don't
to
think it's
be
going to
here.
work that way. I think I'm just going to, if that happens, I'm going to get reset and put into a baby that I like, and I'm going to have to do this all over
Well,
again.
the thing is, right? I think if we understood just how much of a queue there was to get into planet Earth, just how desperate we were to be here, that we wouldn't be having thoughts of checking out. We chose to be here, and it's not easy. I've said that just a moment ago. It's not, but I do. It's my truth. Please, and no one take my truth. That you make up your own. But yeah, it's my truth from my channeling that we chose to be here, and it's so important that we fulfill this life. But so nothing you're telling me is a major surprise, but also it's great to hear at the same time. Do you know what I mean? It's great to hear your story, your truth. It really is.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, thanks.
No, thank you for sharing it so far. Thank you for being brave and actually coming on here and doing this. This is going to help a lot of people. I think you seem to be a very transparent person, and I think that's important. I promote that on my show quite often right now. Well, more than often. If you want to, I say to people, if you want to be a spiritual teacher, just be yourself. Just be transparent. That's a spiritual teacher.
Well, I actually because I went to a meeting yesterday. I was going to a gathering for the next 6 weeks or something. We'll meet bi-weekly, doing a little shaman work. And there was a person in the group that I was telling them yesterday, the only way that I've even gotten to where, and a lot of people, like, I don't want people to ever think I have everything together. I don't. I do feel I have a space that I tap into where I can feel peace, even during uncomfortable circumstances or life, when life gets crazy.
Yeah.
I still get very stressed out, but then I have an access to this peace that I used to not have before, which I do think is my true self and, God and all that great stuff. But this guy yesterday, he just reminded me of myself so much, where he was like, asking our shaman, he was like, well, I hear this person and I hear these voices and I don't know if they're good for me, and they told me this, but they did this. And I just had the same exact experience as him. And I never want people, and I hesitated to share with him because I never want someone to compare where I'm at to where they need to be, because whatever he's questioning, whatever he's doing is going to put him where he needs to be.
Right.
But what really helped me last summer when I was in that situation where I couldn't, I basically, if I had some type of feeling, I had to go and tell this person, or if I had to go and do this, I went and did it. I had no other choice. And I kind of had to throw this idea out that like spiritual people have to be very quaint and like humble and sweet all the time.
Nope.
Because
load of rubbish.
To be honest, I was a bitch sometimes. I was pretty selfish, and there are things I look back on that I'm like, wow, that was a little crazy. And you really kind of made a fool of yourself. But I had to, like, and I don't feel any guilt towards it, oddly enough, because of where I am. I know within my heart, like, if I did not do everything the way I did it, I would not have this peace. I would not know this girl right now. And so I'm so happy to be here. And I'm so happy that I did. I tell people all the time, don't be afraid to get crazy. Like, I don't want people to like hit people, but anything short of hitting people, if you're not like verbal, like if you're not violently towards people, because I said things that I would have never said. One time I was like really drunk and I said some things I couldn't even remember the next day. And it's a very, like, even sometimes I feel a little shame about it, talking about it, but so much was said that whenever this person told me this is what you said, I was like, I couldn't even deny it. Like, they caught me because they were things I had thought before, but I'd never verbalized. And so it was like a type of release. And so I kind of am grateful for it because I don't see myself really ever acting that way again, thankfully, but it definitely had to happen that way. And I like this idea that we have to be so sweet all the time and in this super loving energy that didn't get me here. What got me here was just being very authentic and saying what I needed to say and doing what I needed to do and being kind of selfish sometimes,
Yeah, and I think that the hardest judge on anybody is ourselves. The hardest judge on us is us,
Right.
when we judge ourselves. Um, I'm 38, so a little bit older, but I've pretty much cut all my drinking out now. Do you know that? I don't drink anymore now, and
Yeah.
that's
I
taken
heard
me
you
to,
mention
but it's taken me a process to get there. Do you know that? To cut all my addictions out, it was a choice in the end that I think I just wanted to raise my vibration a bit. I wanted to attract different people. I didn't want the same things as I'd had before, and I think that's part of it, isn't it? If you want change, you've got to be the change as well.
Definitely, yeah. I actually had one of my biggest thing because my dad was an alcoholic. I had this summer was when I really had to start acknowledging that judgment of alcoholics and alcohol in general. I had a deep like I do drink, but I've never been an alcoholic, and
Mm,
that was a very like I was very judgmental about people and without really even knowing it because some of these people that are alcoholics are the people that I love the most and it's like but I was so critical of them and I think it's because I they've given me and I call it whoever talks to me I call them they that like a better way to approach it. Like I just have to find a way to tell people that if they drink alcohol and if it upsets me, they just told me you got to tell them that you just care about them. And that's how
right.
you just end it. You're just like this just worries me because I've seen this happen to this person and that's where I kind of have to leave it. I can't say anything else. I don't want to make anybody feel critical because it's literally from a place of like love. Like I've seen this, just do this to this person and I would never, and that's a fear of mine. I own it as mine. It literally has nothing to do with them. They could be alcoholics for the rest of their life if they want
Yeah.
to. It has more to do with what it triggers in me that these memories I had of, my dad and just things
Of
like that.
course. I mean, listen, yeah. I mean, look, if we choose our lives before we come here, you chose, it's not the easiest path, yeah. But I think you're someone who's taken the self-responsibility to say, look, I'm not blaming anyone. This is my life and I can have the life that I want. Even by getting into law of attraction, it leads you down that road as well.
Yeah, it took me a long time though to own it as completely mine, and it's gonna
Right.
take, and that's the only thing that I wish we could show differently on, like, because I love watching YouTube videos of people that are really spiritual, and I see them just excelling in helping people and things like that. But rarely do we get to see the moments of like, because even I do this when I talk, because we get into these altered states of consciousness, like that like when you're there to be a teacher to someone or you're in a position where you're like, oh, maybe this person, they've come to help me, I've come to help them
Right.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
I get into this higher state of consciousness where in this state where I'm like, and then when I walk away from the situation, like, and I'm very wise during the whole thing. I'm very like, and I've had people tell me, wow, you seem like you have it all together. And it kind of makes me mad. Like, I'm like, gosh, like, is there a way I can present my way, like myself more real? Because yeah, I have all this wisdom, I have all this stuff, but, it's like, I always see people at their best. They don't ever get to see us when we're not doing our
It's
best,
so true. It's so
So,
true. It's so true what you say. Oh my God, man, if I was to dig out my past, it's going to be a deep, deep hole. Do you know what I mean? Of,
yeah, even
really,
my presence sometimes though, like those moments where I'm still at home and like thinking, oh my gosh, this money's not going to come together, and I hear them say, it's going to be fine. Your finances are going to be fine, and I'm like, no, you don't understand how money works. Like it's not just going to show up. Like, and they're telling me it's going to be fine. I have that stress and just different things like that. But still, even like presently, but yeah, even so, like past, yes, I wish there was a camera to show how crazy I've been to all of them so that they all know. So I had it documented, like this is what it took, and it was not pretty whatsoever. So please be crazy.
but
Please do.
but you could say as well, right? We're never our yesterday. I think we're constantly changing in ways, and I'm definitely not the person I was a few years ago. Definitely not.
No, No, yeah, I kind of look back on myself and I'm like, wow, I can't even. It's kind of sad too in a way. It's like I don't even feel like that girl. Like whenever I was in college, about 20 years old, and I think about the things that I wanted and what I was doing, and I was like, honestly, I can't believe that was me. Yeah, and I've heard you talk about walk-ins before, and
Mm.
so my one spiritual thing that happened, I did try acid one time, and it was one time for a reason. And I do think like maybe I got to walk in after that. I have no idea for sure, but nothing has ever been the same since. That's for sure.
Well,
So,
I mean, yeah, look, we've all done drugs, so I'm not going to sit here and be like a prune to say I've not neither, right?
right.
Yeah, but now what I do, I don't need anything. Do you know that? I think it's partly a bit of escapism, but then if you are going to try them to get into those ordered states, I realize now that I can get into that altered state much easier and not needing that stuff to do that. But I do think for some people who are a bit stuck or maybe are their own block, shall we say that's
Hmm.
that's a good way to maybe for someone, and that's why they do it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I do think that people go into it for different reasons. I do remember when I took the acid, my friends, I later found out that one of my friends had told my other friend that she's doing this for another reason. Like she wants to see something. She's wanting to talk to things or something like that.
Yeah,
And I don't
yeah.
remember telling him that, but he was like, she's not doing this for fun. She wants to see something, and honestly feel like it was a very like all my other experiences, there's a theme. They were all terrifying because, I mean, which a lot of times it will. I think sometimes when your ego is being challenged, it'll probably come across as like something scary or something that makes you angry or, I mean, sadness, all that kind of great stuff.
Mm, mm,
But
mm.
it it was a very people say that acid trips only take 12 hours. Mine lasted for 25, so I never thought I would stop. But so that was a little scary. But you're very right. Like there are actually times throughout my day really where I do see things very similar to what I saw in that trip. But I have more control over it to where what I can get what I'm trying to be shown, what I feel like the universe is it's more like what I feel like happened during that acid trip was I felt I clearly saw the universe talking to me in every single little thing that was happening.
Mm.
That makes any sense.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, so it was like any person that talked to me, or even when someone handed me a pen, it was like everything, like the universe was talking to me the whole time. And now it's like I'll be in a conversation with someone and we'll be talking about something, and then all of a sudden it's like I can hear myself talking through them. If that makes
It
sense.
does. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It does. God, I was just going to say something there as well. Yeah, no. Well, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Um, it's an amazing feeling when you've got that connection there all the time, and that we all have that connection. Do you know what I mean? We're all able to tune in and to connect to that greater part of ourselves. And you mentioned before as well, like you've got that safe space that you're able to go to, and that's you. That's your that's you're going back to yourself. That purest part of yourself. I think definitely.
And it's definitely in the moment kind of thing. Like I remember when I used to hear people on videos talking about in this moment right now, like that's where I live and stuff like that. I used to get so frustrated when I heard that because
Mm.
I was like, what are you even talking about? Like, is that even true? And now that I'm where I am, which is it's so different from this time last year to even right now, it's like my life is very much moment by moment. It is very much
Good.
like we had said, we didn't even prepare for this because I think we're both very
No.
much like it's just what happened, we're in the
Yeah.
moment kind of thing. And I it's almost like I don't know how to operate any other way. And that was what was cool about the person that I was saying that I've traveled with and went to Yellowstone with. And I see him as one of my best teachers. Is he was always in the moment, and it frustrated me to no end. Because I was like, I was a planner. I needed to know when was this going to happen in this, but yeah, when you operate through your heart, it's very hard. It's very hard to make plans sometimes. Um, even when I was telling you earlier about how I was going to move to Yellowstone and live in Bozeman and go back to Yellowstone, something in my head laughed like, it's so funny that you have a plan because you don't even know if that's going to happen. But
That's so true. That's so true. That's so true. Okay. So, how has your family taken some of your new viewpoints now? I'm really interested in that as well.
so I kind of don't talk about it a lot with my family. What was really funny is, the day that I sent you the email, I literally had this idea that you weren't going to that nobody was going to get back to me. I actually didn't know if you were going to get the email or someone else was going to get it. I thought it was going to sit in an inbox for a while. I had no expectations of this at all. It was really funny. And then, but like, later that day, I was on the phone with my sister and we were talking about some things. And I just told her, because I had sent you that email, I was like, well, I feel like some people are going to find out soon. So I'm going to just tell my sister, it didn't come up so natural in the conversation, but I mentioned it like 30 or minutes or so into the conversation. I was like, yeah, I read chakras. And she was like, I was like, do you know what that is? And she was like, no. And I was like, well, it's energy centers, And so whenever I talk to people, I can see things about them, in their energy, and I can tell them, like, if they have a question, like if they're having troubles with their dad, I can maybe tell them what chakra is associated with that, what chakra, or like I can answer their questions sometimes by looking at their energy. And she was like, well, I don't really believe in that. And I was like, oh, and it kind of like, it disappointed me a lot, but I didn't like get upset with her. I didn't say, well, you're stupid or all this stuff. I just, in my head, I was like, well, that's just where she is, and
Right.
she doesn't have to believe in this ever, for me to help other people. It's nice to have the support of your family, but at the same time, like, I'm not mad that they don't necessarily, or she didn't necessarily believe in it. And also she may not understand it. So I can't get mad about that either. But after I got off the phone with her, I checked my email, and that's when your email was in my inbox. So literally when I told her
How
was
weird is
about the
that?
same time you sent that response. And I was like, I feel like that was a sign, like, from the universe, like, this is going to be a little tough. You're going to have a few people. And it is. It's been scary with my family. My mom has heard me on the phone talking about it before, because she walked in and I was talking to my friend who's a psychic, and I was on speakerphone at her house. And when she walked in the room, I was like, oh, maybe I should put this on private and put it to my ear. But I was like, no, I'm just going to keep talking about it right in front of her. And I did for another few minutes. And then when I hung up, I like looked at her and she didn't say anything. And then there was another day where me and my mom, we take a lot of walks. And I mentioned to her that I do believe that I'm psychic and things like that. And she was really quiet. And I was like, well, is there anything you want to say to it? She's like, well, I don't really understand it. So no, I don't really want to talk about it, or something like that. And I was like, okay. So that's basically been the response. I have an aunt that she's also pretty intuitive. She does pranic healing and different things like that. So, and we've both kind of been the black sheep of the family, kind of, in a way. And we're very supportive to each other, but we're kind of all we got in that area. So.
Yeah, I chose a family. I believe that, I believe I chose my family, and I chose a family that were very open-minded. You know what I mean? They're spiritual. Everyone's on the same level. So, I'm not saying I've not been tested in different ways in life. My God, I have, right? But not in the family aspect. So I can imagine it's really difficult. But that doesn't mean that we stop loving our family, or that we're not connected still. I guess what it means is that you're just being your true self, and that's all you want to be, just your true self. And but there's still a lot of respect for other people's truth and belief, isn't there? Because we've all got a different truth, we've all got a different belief.
Yeah, I definitely believe that, if they believe in heaven, and they believe that, they have to be saved by Jesus in order to go to heaven. I kind of believe that they'll go there. That's just what I choose to believe. Like, that's what'll happen for them. If it is different, I have a different idea of what'll happen for me.
Yeah.
this will end and then I'll go to the other side and just kind of have this like, oh, so yeah, remember what we were supposed to be doing down there? Okay. And then kind of go over everything. I have a very different idea of what happens at like life after death, but they are very, I've had my sister, she'll tell me I had to pray a long time so that like to come to terms with like you going to hell or something like very similar to something like that. Like
Yeah.
but in a way, I've asked my sister before, I was like, well, do you think I'm going to hell? And she says no. And I was like, but I don't believe in what you believe. And she was like, I don't care. And so she refuses to believe that I'm going to hell. So she knows that she knows that I think that I'm psychic.
Yeah.
And she doesn't believe in it at all. And I have multiple sisters, by the way. It's like,
Okay. Okay.
I'm one of 7, and then I have a brother, and it's mixed family just because my mom's been married 3 times.
Yes.
And so over that, I call it collected a lot of siblings, and we just never dissolved after my mom got divorced from her second husband. Yeah, so yeah, I don't really have anybody in my family that I have told some people, but after I got like some resistance to it, I kind of stopped talking about it.
Yeah, that's the thing I would say, right? For anyone watching this as well, you cannot, you should never force your truth onto someone else, right? Now, okay, if someone's forcing it onto you, what do? I suppose you can walk away, right? But I would never, I've done it before, I would never do it again. I would never try to force my views onto someone else. If someone wants to ask me about what I believe in, yeah, I would tell them, that's no problem. But if they never asked, I don't think I would say anything. I don't know what you feel with that.
Because it's funny because me and my aunt, we always say like we could be wrong. And what I've loved about this whole journey is it's brought this whole level of like humbleness where I don't argue with people about a lot of things because I don't know for sure that my way is right. This is just what I think. This is just what I believe. And so I don't have to go to war over it. I don't have to get in someone's face about it. I'm very open to hearing what they have to say because I think we all have a very good reason why we believe the way we believe, why we do what we do, and I find that a little bit more interesting. That's why I do feel I'm very influenced by Jesus because I always there was a guy, he came to talk to me a couple weeks ago, and he's a Christian, and he just couldn't believe that I don't claim Christianity because he's like, Raylen, like all these things that you talk about and how close you are with God and like how you sound, are you sure you're not a Christian? And I was like, I'm not. No, I'm not. And like, why was I talking about that? But I told him, I was like, I feel like I have Christ consciousness. Like I know people talk about that. I do feel when I hear about Jesus, I definitely feel like I have the heart of God, the eyes of God, and the mind of God. I really feel that. Because I'm great at counseling. God, I won't say like counseling, but I'm great at hearing people, and I'm very interested in them. And which is what I think, Jesus was too, very open and interested in people and like what brings them to, at this point in their life. I'm so interested like in people telling me about what brought them to this point in their life. That's all I really care about. Like, I just want to know that. I'm so passionate about that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And do you feel then? Okay, do you feel that you might pursue that side of you in the sense where you can do these chakra readings or dream interpretations? Is that something you might pursue?
Leading up to this, I thought about like I kept hearing like maybe you should get a website together so like you could mention it and stuff. And I had every intention to, but I hadn't. But that's kind of why I wanted to do this. I was talking to a friend yesterday, and I have my health stuff. So I have a whole Facebook page about different recipes that I make, and I'm very good at talking about food, how it affects the body, because I am going to school to be a health coach at the moment. I don't know if I mentioned that.
Oh, no, right, okay, yeah, I didn't know that, yeah.
Yeah, so I go to school online to be a health coach. I actually enrolled back into my university that I graduated from a few years ago. In dietetics, but like within 6 weeks, or no, it was like 4 weeks of being back at school and going through the dietetics program that I just felt like I had to get out because there were some things I was uncomfortable with. Like I was like the textbook stuff they were saying, I was like, I don't like to go against science and doctors. I really don't. But there were just some things I felt a little weird about. And I was like, this is what it's going to be the next 3 years. I think I'm going to just, like, I'll read up on some stuff by myself. So I have this whole thing with health that people know. They know that I'm specialized in that's what I love to do. That's what I love to talk about. They do not know about this. They do not know about my chakra readings. They do not know that I do dream interpretations. And my friend yesterday, he was talking to me and he was like, well, Raylan, you could always have a website for this and a website for this. So when you come across people, you know, these people that don't fit, they can go over here, and these people, you can tell about this. And I was like, you know, James, I've been doing that for years, and it's kind of exhausting because it's hard to keep up with, and like, who can I tell about this and who can I not?
Yeah,
And
you can't do it like that. Yeah.
yeah, I've been trying, and
That's
today I
hard.
felt the whole reason why I didn't know, that's why I emailed you, but this is kind of like the beginning of me integrating all of it together and just being more honest about me, like, because it's exhausting. Like, I will say, so much of my life is coming together and it's beautiful and it's amazing. But this is the only part that I kind of struggle with, is not being able to tell people that I can, you know, I can heal people energetically. And that's something, like, when I did that for somebody a few months ago, and she was just so blown away by it that she was like, you have to start doing this for people. And I was like, yeah, let me just go ahead and post on my Facebook that I read chakras. I'm going to get on that. And I can't do that at the moment.
Is that because, okay, so if your friends knew, what this path that you might want to go into, if it's going to pull you into there, how would they react to you, do you think?
You know, because I do talk about God a lot on my Facebook page. I don't really talk about, I don't say Jesus. I do say God and things like that. But so far, like, when I don't mention, if I just say God and I'm talking to somebody in a conversation, they have no idea that I'm not a Christian. They have no idea. It's only when I tell them that I'm not, or that I don't label myself that way, that they're like, what? Like, what are you even talking about? Like, yes, you are. Like, or how would you know these things if you know, and it's confusing for them. So to minimize confusing, I usually don't say that I'm not a Christian. I just talk about God as if, you know, it's, because it is the same. But the moment you clarify things, they're like, oh, never mind. It's not the same. And like today, like, when I think about what I do, I literally just pray for people. You know, that's literally what I do. I don't even lay my hands on them, really. I can see an area. I can talk to them about it. I can start asking them questions to where they can heal themselves from it, or become more aware of it. And I literally feel that, you know, things that Jesus said that people will do. I mean, he said that, you know, people that come after him, they're going to do greater things than he did. And then I do feel I have those gifts, but it's like, I don't know. I don't know how, if I'm explaining it right. It's
You are. It's okay.
Yeah, it's a hard thing.
Of course it is. Yeah, but, I mean, I'm chuckling away because it's not straightforward. It's not straightforward. Well, I'll put it this way, right? You are moving.
Straightforward.
Sorry, go ahead.
And I'm afraid, I guess, if I am straightforward with people, then, you know, I am going to be labeled as this person that like does talk to demons. That like it makes me so sad. Or you know, we can't talk to her because, like, she's not really a child of God, all that great stuff. It hurts me to even think that people would feel that way about me, because there's so many Christian people that I talk to that when they don't know, like, particulars, we have such amazing conversations about God and everything that that God does for us. And then the moment you make simple clarifications, it's like, you know, that things just get cut off.
Of course, I know.
And so I do get afraid of that, but I think I'm on a path where I'm about to just speak that truth, and they just keep telling me, it's gonna be fine. The right people are gonna gravitate to you, and yes, like some people will, not be around anymore.
It could
So.
happen. Now, look, well, yeah, yeah, absolutely. But when that time happens, when you're ready, and it may be soon, it may be a couple of years, it may be longer than that, right? When that time does happen, it'll be a time of your choosing, and it'll be the right time for you when you're emotionally, mentally ready for it, right? You've got to be ready for that, because things will change. But I tell you what, right? When you do align yourself with your truth, whatever that may be, right? I think I know what your truth is for you right now. But when you do align yourself with that, it's the most beautiful thing ever, because then the most amazing people come in your path. And then when you're doing I mean, it's like me, right? When I go and do a channeling session in front of an audience, yeah, my God, right? It's scary, right? Not only for what people are going to think of you, right? But, being authentic and going on the stage to do it. But I tell you what, when you live in your authenticity, when you do what's true for you, it's the best thing ever. Oh my God, I could do it all day.
Well, yeah, and that's something too, because I get like, and then there's a fear that if people know it's about me, they're gonna try to test me. But like, oh, can you really read chakras? And it's so funny because I'm like, well, every time I've ever done it, I've always been in a conversation with someone, and there's like, I can just tell they're looking for an answer, so that gives me this space where I pray, and I'm like, okay, well, if there's something I'm here to tell them, give me that message. And sometimes I'll get one, and sometimes I won't.
Yeah.
It just because sometimes literally people talk to you just to vent. They're not coming to you for advice.
Right.
But other times they are on your path for a specific reason, and they've been praying about something. Like I literally know when people are coming to me, and I had to tell a dude a couple of weeks ago because he was there, and he's like, I'm just drawn to you. I need to know, like, there's just something about you that I feel like it's going to help me, and that's why I keep coming to see you. And it wasn't until like our third visit, and I was like, well, okay, well, I just have to tell you, because God is telling me you've been praying about something. So what is your prayer? Because I don't, and it's a weird thing to say, because I feel like it's almost like I guess I have this weird thing where I don't want to come across like I'm an answer to somebody's prayer. But at the same time, that's what I was kind of told, that they're praying about something, and I had an answer to give them, that's why we were crossing paths. And it's a lot. Like that happens to me a lot, where people will be praying about something and I'm there to tell them the answer, and they'll get mad at me, but it's because they don't know that I was there to give them that answer, and they still may not be ready to get that answer. But they've been praying for it because they think they want the answer, but it can take a longer time.
But that takes a lot of balls to just even get into that situation, to be able to accept and honor that, what you're saying there as well. I mean, that's pretty ballsy, especially with yourself, where it's still all new, isn't it? Do you know what I mean, in one sense? And I think you're still finding it quite a bit, which is okay, because we've all been there. Don't worry about that. Yeah. We've all been there.
Yes, and that's exactly why I kind of reached out at this point, because I'm not kind of this finished product, and I don't have services, and I don't have a book, which I have been working on, but I stopped because it was just getting too intense. But
for now.
Yeah, for now. Yes, because it's actually been tapping me on the shoulder again. I was like, oh my gosh, you again, please no. It's writing is such an interesting thing, and it's been my calling since I was like 7 or 8. So it was probably crazy of me to think it would ever go away. But yeah, I just think it's important to kind of see people at different levels, and different levels of their journey. Because what I'm doing right now feels very much like the start of something,
right?
And usually when we see people, it's always kind of at the end.
Right.
And
isn't this strange? Isn't this weird that you've come on this program now, and I've wanted you to come on at this beginning part, which is not the normal way of doing it.
Right. And I think, and I actually have like a lot of chills, and I'm feeling a little bit emotional, because I think it's important, because it's also important because lately, when I've been seeing people when they're at these places, I remember when it used to just feel like I would just have like, it was almost like something was just beating me down because I was like, oh, I'm not there yet. Oh, I'm not at that place in my consciousness where I do experience unconditional love all the time, or I do experience being in the now all the time. And it was such a, like, it's like a beating myself with a stick. And then even when you see the spiritual teachers that they're at this certain level and you're like, well, I feel like I have that, but look at them, they're right there.
Who I don't know anyone in the spiritual field who's in the present moment all the time, who's in alignment all the time, who's not going through anger issues now and then, who's not, that is, I've got to say, actually, you're never gonna. We're attaining to get there, I think, or we have glimpses of it, but. No, we can be in that space, don't get me wrong, quite a bit, but I think it would be unhuman to be in there all the time. I mean, we're here to have a human experience, which is all the stuff that you've just mentioned that you can't deny or try to get rid of any of that stuff. When people come onto my show and they start talking about, the silence in the voice, the head, and, no noise and all this, I try to stop them nowadays because I'm like, well, hang on, isn't that noise trying to tell you something, like a warning sign or something? Yeah.
It's trying to tell you something. Yes. Like, that's why I always pay attention to it. And I'm actually also, I never mentioned this because I kind of forget about it. I am a oneness blessing giver. I went to a PNG, a retreat last year, and I got to do oneness blessing. So I lead meditations once a month, in my local area and I kind of co-host it with a friend. Why was I saying that? I forget why I was saying that. Because what were you saying? You were saying
that we're not always in that space. We're not always in the space of, being in the moment, present moment all the time. The noise in the head. Sorry, yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah, sorry.
Meditation, like when people say like, oh, I can't meditate, I can't quiet anything. I literally go to meditation so I can hear the chatter in my head. Like, I'm like, what is that? Where is that? Like, what is going on there? I don't really meditate to be quiet. I meditate to sit so I can really notice, like, what is all that chattering? Where is that coming from? Because it's something from my subconscious, or it's something that's been triggering me. It's something that's going to lead me to that place of knowing myself better. Like, I don't know how our minds get that quiet. And I enjoy the chatter in my head a lot of times when I'm in a space where I'm observing it, not when I'm like a part of it,
right. Right. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
But yeah,
go ahead.
That's what, like, when I used to watch, I guess, yeah, I don't get the feeling like some people I do feel it just whenever you're seeing people in their interviews and they're talking about all this stuff, you just think, I think sometimes we get that concept that they are living in the moment all the time and that they are, this way all the time. Like, just sometimes, even if that's not what they're saying, I think we think it. And so I just would love for, to make sure people know, like, that is not how it is, but we do experience those states and it is amazing. And, but I love the human parts. Like, now I was actually listening to your channeling that you did. You showed a piece of the channeling that you did.
Yeah.
And there was something about it where, you were talking about, the people wanting to come in and enjoying the human experience. And I kind of like got emotional because I'm finally in a place where I'm not wanting to go back home, quote unquote home, and that I'm loving being human, even with all of, sometimes the financial stresses, or because really that's the only thing I have at the moment. I don't have a partner that I have to worry about anymore, which is great, for the moment, because I'm sure it'll happen again. But right now it's just kind of money.
Yeah.
Do what?
I'm sure it will. Do you know what I find? That being single, I think actually being on your own, what that does for you is that you're able to work on yourself and make yourself a better person. Do you know that?
And you don't have to project so much. Like, that's what I was doing a lot of times to him. I was constantly, it's not until now that I really, I can see how much he was just mirroring different things. It was just showing up differently in him.
Cool.
It had a different, he smoked cigarettes and he drank, and I interpreted that as him not taking care of his body. But the moment I got home, I started eating better. I started doing yoga, and I started taking multivitamins. His example and how furious I was about his addictions was just another way, like the universe trying to tell me, what about your body? What are you doing about
Yeah,
yourself?
yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know, but
Absolutely.
I couldn't see it at the time. And there are moments, he and I don't talk anymore. And I don't really know if that relationship is ever going to come back together. But there are times that I really wish I could tell those people that I'm sorry, because,
No,
um,
well,
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
Do you think so? Yeah, yeah.
Uh, Sometimes, like, yeah, like sometimes, because in a way, it happened how it was supposed to, and I have come to terms with that part, but there's still, I think I have that. So I would say yes, but I think the only reason why I have that emotional response and I have that feeling of like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, because it carries into what I'm doing right now. And
Yes.
it reminds me of like, be reflective, like, just don't do that again, kind of thing,
Yeah.
because a different spot and we kind of know better. At the time, I didn't know better. So it's like I forgive myself for that. And I know it's completely necessary, but I still have this feeling like, but I want to do it better next time, you know?
That's so
Yeah.
true. That's so true. Well,
Yeah.
it's only my own truth here that I'm gonna say this. That, I think I can now. Yeah, I'm gonna say this. I don't think I could ever be with someone who wasn't. We didn't have things in common. I've always had relationships where it's always been, we're opposites in a sense, and that's okay to one point. But really, the space that I'm in now, being with someone that didn't get what I do or didn't understand, or we couldn't have those conversations sometimes. I'm not saying everything has to be in common, but I just couldn't do it no more. I
I get so nervous. I get so nervous that the universe is going to send me someone like that to like test me even further. Like, but I don't know if it's gonna. But I do. I have that. Like, I was like, are they gonna send me somebody that's really just not on board with what I do? And like, what would? But I don't know. I don't know if it could happen just because of the people, like,
well,
like we attract into our lives. I don't even
yeah,
know if
yeah.
something like that, but the universe has really weird ways of teaching you things. So it's like I never put anything past it.
It does.
But yeah, I don't think it would really work.
It does.
But
But I
yeah,
think when you're ready, when you know what you want, then the universe can only say one thing. That's yes. It can only say
yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah. And I'm so enjoying this new relationship that I have with myself, with
That's
God,
important.
with my new gift too.
Yeah.
I enjoy it so fully. Like there was somebody that was kind of like saying that he was interested in me, and I was very clear about like where I was in my life, and I was almost kind of like, what are you trying to do? You're trying to step into my space when I'm like so happy by myself right now. Like, what are you doing? I'm like, so it was weird, but yeah, I still think I have some time to be single, and I am just this love that I feel in this peace. I
Yeah.
really want to. I think I'm just called to get more solid in that before I add someone else into the mix. There,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely. I hear you. I do. I do. I do. Um, well, this has been so interesting. This has been very different to what I thought it was going to be. Actually, may I ask you one thing as well? Um, Do you think it's possible that you are at the start of a new truth where would you be surprised that you're going to discover things on your journey that are going to blow your mind in the sense of what you think, as in you're going to make up new truths that actually where you are now, you give it maybe a year's time, you're going to be somewhere completely different.
uh, I would, yeah, I think so. Like this feeling that I have, I think that that's gonna stay pretty constant, like that peace. Because I mean, guess like if it is what you say, if that's me, that soul of me, I don't feel like that's gonna change too much. But definitely, like, I mean, I can't really say what it'll be. But just knowing kind of how my journey has been so far, then most definitely things are going to change. I'm going to get deeper knowledge about other things, which I'm so open to, which is that's why like I'm very like things will kind of knock me back a little bit, like, whoa, what is that? But the universe is so expanding, and I have to say that over the past few months, the amount of judgment, like we still have judgment just because we are human and we are who we are. But the level of judgment I've experienced has just turned down so much that I do think it'll be easier for me to open up my sense of what's true and to find new truths, because the dial on my judgment has just been turned down. And I'm so grateful for that, because it's really helped me see people a little bit more as they are, which is why I think the one truth that I know is going to happen one day, that part's just been evolving, Kevin. Like, sometimes I'll be talking to people, and anytime I feel like I'm judging, like Donald Trump, it happened with Donald Trump. I was meditating one night, and something just told me that he is our president for a reason. Like, he is here to really release something in the collective unconscious, in our I think it was our sacral or our solar plexus chakra, probably all three, like something just to do with all the lower chakras. He's definitely here to release something unconsciously. So it's very hard for me now. Like, back when he was doing his primary election stuff, I was pretty pissed off at him, but he's an amazing manifester. I know you know this. How he speaks, I should have known when he was in his little doing all his speeches. I was like, dang it, this dude's gonna be the president of the United States, just because of the way he spoke it into existence. That's exactly what he did. But he's here to usher in and reveal something in our unconscious that wants to be released. And so it's very hard for me to get upset about him being the president, or have a lot of resistance to what's going on, because I do feel it's, in a way, divinely led. And I know that's going to make some people mad, because if you would have asked me a year ago, I would have been pissed off at myself for saying that, but it's definitely for a purpose. And he's us. Like, there was just a day where it's hard for me to conceptualize sometimes, but he's also me, you know? And sometimes I really have these, they don't come too often, but when I have a ton of resistance to someone, it's like there are times when I just release and let go, like that judgment just kind of dissolves, because that notion, like, wow, that person is me, comes through. And I think the major truth that's going to be my mind blowing is whenever I see everyone as me. That's going to be an interesting moment. And that's going to take a while to get there. So.
You never know. You never. Even you saying those words right now is an acceptance of it in a sense. So.
Yeah, there's so many times when I'm talking to people and I'm like, wow, she's me. And it'll just be like in the middle of a conversation, and then it goes away. Yeah. But for a good 5 minutes, I'm like tuned in, because I'm like, they are me talking to me. And it's very mind blowing. But I was not here. I was not there like even 2 years ago. I never saw people that way growing up, you know. So it's always evolving, all that kind of stuff.
Of course. Of course.
And if anyone, so one thing that I did want to mention.
Sure.
Something that's really helped me, and what's really, because I've been reading chakras actually for about 2 years now, and maybe a year and a half. I used to do scans on that guy. Like, he actually has always lived very far away from me, and sometimes I would be thinking about him in the middle of the night. I would do a chakra scan on him, and like, hey, I did this chakra scan. Do you want to hear about it? And he's like, what are you doing? And it would always kind of match up to what was going on with him. But I recently started going to a spiritualist church once a week, and we do regular readings there. And my family doesn't know about that. I just tell them that I go to church at 2:00, and it's just like, who goes to church at 2:00? But they never ask questions. So if they ever found out I went to like a psychic church, oh my gosh, we'll find out what they think, because yeah. Anyways, it's really helped me. If anybody does feel like they have a gift, that they even think they have, because we all have it.
Of course.
But if it's something that you want to start getting more in touch with, maybe finding a spiritualist church or even a meditation group. I'm very lucky to where I have a meditation group that we consistently talk to each other, kind of like you and I are talking. And talking about experiences is the best way to kind of confirm this journey and get us more comfortable on it. And the more comfortable we are, the more we're able to express ourselves more. And so that would be something to kind of seek out. And maybe not, because I did it by myself for a long time, and it kind of, the movement was very stagnant. But
well, brave you for doing it by yourself.
Yeah.
Brave you for doing it by yourself.
I hope more people, that's one thing that I do hope is part of my journey, is to help people. Since I do have experience, maybe I can help them go through it a little bit.
Yep.
Like,
well, you are now. You're doing that now on this interview. Don't worry about that.
That makes me feel so much better. And I've told there's just things that I've been doing, like with my life, that I've been changing, and I have seen it just change. It's really changed certain people in my life that it's not like I even told them to do it. They just see me doing it, and then they do it.
Yeah.
And and that makes it worth it.
Of course,
it makes it 100% worth it. Even if it only helps one person, it was totally worth it.
Oh my God, that's so important, right? If you can just help one person, that's all that matters. I swear to God, I never used to think that. I used to think, well, come on, it's just one person. But it's so true. That's so true.
And I don't really get excited about things, but I was very excited about this, like super, super excited. And I had to pray about it. I was like, what is going on? Why? I mean, of course I love the channel and everything, but I was like, what is it? And I did. I felt like it could help at least one person. That's what they told me. I was like, it could help at least one person. And I was like, oh, well, yeah, that's so exciting. That is that would just be everything. That make it all worth it,
Exactly.
Tell me out with my truth, and it helping one person would make all the difference and be worth it. And it's going to help me too. So that's what they told me. They're like, and it's going to help you. And it's like, okay.
That's just what I was going to say to you. Do you know that? I was just about to say that to you. It's you. What if that one person was you? Who knows, right?
It's already changed me, actually, Kevin, because, ever since I sent that email, things have been happening. Good. And I've been more open. So it's already changed me, Good. Which makes it that, like, it's been worth it. And so I will never forget this day, because it was a day that I said, like, this is the day I'm going to start integrating all of me together and start working on showing that person to the world, and not trying to compartmentalize myself. I just think it will make for a happier experience to do that, and it's a really brave thing to do that. And that's not going against your family or anything. That your family will always be there. They'll love you for no matter what. Even though they may have their own different opinions on stuff. The blood is thick in the water, and the love will always be there. But I think for you to step into your greatness, your trueness of who you are, that's a beautiful thing to do, and that would only lead to happiness that you can't even imagine. And that's what we're all here for. If we can make our present moment the most loving and happiest it can be for all of us, that's the key to it, isn't it? That's what we're trying to get to. I think I'd like to get there. Because I actually had a really hard time being, like, people always told me, like, the point of life is to be happy and all that stuff. And this past summer, I kept telling people, no, that's not my point. That's not my point. Because, Kevin, I was just, in a way, like, I was going a little crazy over the summer, but after you experience an emotion, it has that feeling after, whether it is, like, complete sadness or complete, like, selfishness or complete like kindness or whatever. If you do something to the fullest, it has that. I think maybe that's what we're trying to achieve, that feeling after that, which maybe that's what people see as happy or feel as happy. For me, it's like a release, I guess. I don't know if that's making any sense, because I do, sometimes I don't feel my purpose in life is to be just happy. I feel it's to, what do I feel? I'm just enjoying the experience so much now
Good.
that like I'm so glad that I'm finally in this. Like I feel like I'm actually finally human, but at the same time totally divine as well. And that's what happiness is.
Yeah.
Just the awareness that we're completely human and divine at the same time.
Yeah.
And that's just going to sound like such blasphemy to my family because they always try to tell me, Raylan, you're not God. And I'm like, well, I was like, we're a piece of that, you know,
That's
and
right.
I have God in me, you know.
Yes.
Yeah, this is so exciting for me now. And like to be actually human and not constantly trying to reject that part and call that person ugly and all that and like you're doing everything wrong. That was something I didn't agree with the Christianity belief like growing up is that we were always taught to reject ourselves and reject our mistakes and reject like
we've sinned and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. You know, maybe this was one of your lifetimes to step away from what is, you know, a bit of control to actually becoming your own truth on a lot of answers and finding your own power. You never know. I mean, I've had many lifetimes in the church. I've had many lifetimes as a monk and everything else. And I was pulled away from those lifetimes. I had to get away from it. I was forced out of it from going back there, apparently. So this is one of my few lives out of that makeup. And you know, it's I can't really complain too much. Do you know what I mean? But that doesn't mean I don't love religion in a sense, which I do. It's just I just don't like the controlled aspect of it. I like to come up with my own truth. You know, yeah.
And I definitely think a lot of the teachings are valid in so many different religions.
Of course.
But a lot of times they don't agree with that part. But that's just how I've seen it. That's the way that works for me. That's actually how it helps me connect with so many people of different religions. It's because I don't label myself as one thing because it's like that term Christianity I feel has hurt so many people too, more than it's helped some people. Some people felt I've been one of them that felt very rejected by Christians, and so it's put a bad taste in my mouth to even kind of help those people. I feel very inclined to just help anyone else besides them, you know. And maybe that could be why I'm scared to come out as myself because in a way it'll maybe one of them will see it and it yeah.
But we can't yet. But I think there would still be a lot of love for any religion. I feel that about you. I'm not just trying to, you know, put that in there and trying to, you know, I just feel that about you, that, you know, it's probably give it a little bit of time and you'll see that actually, you know what, you've got love for everyone no matter where they come from.
Yes, I definitely hope that. And then it's funny that you talked about like past lives because I am pretty sure what's even took me this long because I've known I've been psychic for a while. Like it's probably been at least 3 years, if not more. So really like the death of my grandfather. So it's probably been 5. But this is the first thing that I would even be doing that's possibly going to be like a little bit public about it because I actually always had this deep fear that I was going to get like really persecuted or I was gonna like die or something like that, excommunicated, all that kind of stuff for saying this about myself. And I do feel like it is because of like past life traumas. I'm very convinced that I was probably a witch in a past life because I brew so many things by myself in my house. I use so many essential oil, like just alternative medicine. I get a lot of alternative things, and it just started becoming clear. I was like, girl, you was a witch. You had and so and we all know what happened to them. So it was like, so there's still that.
Well, look,
Jesus was killed. Like, let's be real. He was killed for his truths. So it's like,
of course he was, and then that, you know, did Jesus really want a religion after his name? We'll never know just right now. But the thing is, right, maybe life has to experience itself as everything. We've probably been the good, the bad, and the ugly in past life. Me and you have probably, all of us, right, have done some really ugly things, but on a different scale, maybe it's life experience in itself. I mean, I'm not here to hurt anyone now. Do you know what I mean? But I'm just saying, you know, have we been perfect in all our past? Does it really matter? That's another thing you've got. What's these past lives? Well, they have an influence on the now, but really, Now is all we've got right now. So, you know, I try to bring that back in the interviews as well, that if we can just be in the now and realize that, you know, let's live our life to the maximum with this life. Forget about other lives going on.
Well,
yeah.
Yeah, it's really funny because I talked to Jesus like about like I remember it being like it was a few years ago. I was just in my car and I was asking him like because I heard like I just had this contact with him and which was more natural than a lot of other people that I've talked to actually because Jesus was who I grew up with. So I like asked him, I was like, "Did you want this?" You know, and I just kept feeling like he said, you know, that he wouldn't have done anything different. You know, but that's the part of living out your truth is that people are going to do with it and people are going to interpret it and they're going to react to it the way that they react it. You know, they react, you know, but that he would never done anything different because that's who he was, you know, and how everyone else reacted to it and what they made of it, that's all on them. And he still said, like, I still wouldn't have done it different, you know? So I take that into what I do too, because it's like, you know, that was a fear of mine too. Like, what if, like, this is kind of getting a little too ahead of it, but what if I do get wise and stuff and people try to start following me? That's not what I want. I would never want what happened to Jesus to happen to me, but, which that's a little far, but, yeah, like, so I don't know, that's just what I always felt by him. And it's very comforting because lately I've been being reminded by him of that. And it's encouraged me to just kind of go forward and let people react how they react, let them feel how they feel, let them, because they're going to do it anyways. But yeah, I do really believe what you had said earlier. Like, you know, once you get into that moment, like you're living in your truth. Yeah, you could do it all day because there are like the times when I do it, I could do it all day, and that's really what I want. So this is a step in that direction.
I think so. I think everything happens for a reason, right? That's all I'm going to say. Everything happens. That's what I've learned on my journey, and that it really does. It so does. Well, look, okay, we are well over time here, right? But I wanted to give you that space. That's cool, right? This was important. Yeah. And this will help a lot of people in their journey as well. And I'm sure there's loads we've missed out. Whatever, you know, when you look back on this, do not be hard on yourself. You know, just look at it as part of the process. This is the A to B to C. You can't get to C unless you've gone through A. And, you know, there's no cheating it neither, right? So you know, you'll look back at this and you'll be like, yeah, look, I had the balls to do that. Thank God. Do you know what I mean? That was a good thing.
Yeah, and I think it's super exciting because it's like we don't get to see a lot of that. But I've just been told over and over these past few weeks, months, like this is what people's beginnings look like, you know? Like do not be discouraged or anything like that. Like I have a friend, she came out with being a psychic last year and her business is taking off at this point. Like she left her job and she has like all these amazing things going on for her, and she's moving so forward in her business and her calling. Really, I don't even like to call it a business. Sometimes it's just a calling.
Being of service.
And whenever I was talking to her the other day, I just felt like my guides and God telling me, like I just heard them telling me, this is what faith does. You know, this is what patience does. And that's all it's going to take. It's going to take faith and it's going to take patience. And your purpose is also going to evolve and you're going to help people like, just like she's doing, if, you know, in a different way, because y'all kind of do different things. But, yeah, it's definitely, they've been reminding me, this is what the beginning looks like. So, I'm excited about it.
Yeah, it is exciting. And everyone's on a different path. You know, you can't compare yourself to anyone else, but it's nice to see how when other people, you know, live that truth, that, you know, it provides for them more than enough. You know, you get to help so many people, and it's just such an amazing journey. You never know what's around the corner. You never knew this interview was coming. You never knew you never know what's around the corner. Right?
I didn't even think it was going to be a chakra reader. I actually thought that chakras were a little, this is going to sound so bad. I thought they were like juvenile, kind of. I thought they were too simple. And I wanted to talk to dead people, really. I wanted to talk to people that had crossed over. I wanted to be a medium. But this is my thing.
This is your calling. This is what you're supposed to be doing. And you know one another thing as well. Everyone's got a different gift. It would be a boring world if everyone had the same gift. We've each got different gifts in this field, and that's what makes it so interesting.
And it's probably because I was a shaman. Like, people have always told me I was a shaman in a past life. And they kind of work with the energy system and like that network. So it's just what's carried over. So I'm excited to do the work. I'm excited what this is going to bring up for me. Cause like you said, like with New Truths, this is going to bring a whole new level of my journey. So I really want to thank you for, seeing potential in this interview and even, having, letting me come on here. Cause it's really, really helped me. You have no idea. And it's going to keep helping me, just become more solid in my truth, which I feel is the message of your channel.
Excellent.
Really.
Excellent. That's wonderful to hear. That's really cool to hear. And just like I say, just don't be surprised what's around the corner. So, well, look, okay. It's been beautiful speaking to yourself. It takes a very brave person to do this, right? It does, right? Just to have these conversations. It's not easy doing an interview, but look how easy you made it. So easy.
It was easy talking to you about it. So it's gonna be interesting to see the after. So, but I'm ready. I'm gonna channel peace.
Good. Well, that's my job. I'd just like to say, Krystal, Raylynn, just thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
Well, we've come to an end on today's show. Don't forget that you can listen and watch all our past interviews on the More Show's official YouTube channel. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel for new daily shows. You may also find out more on all past and upcoming guests by going to themoreshow.com, and do like us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest updates. So until next time, be safe.